A Turkish officer called Kemal Pasha returns to defeated Istanbul as a war hero. Later, they will call him Atatürk, father of all the Turks. Kemal Atatürk seizes power and founds the Republic of Turkey on the ruins of the Ottoman Empire. As dictator, he forces through a cultural revolution that has no equivalent in Islamic history. Radical Europeanization. School for everyone, the Latin alphabet, universities for women, the abolition of polygamy and of the veil. Under Atatürk, Muslim Turkey's constitution strictly separates state and religion. Many Turks are proud of that. Others now demand a return to Islamic traditions. But Atatürk's legacy can no longer be erased. For the Arabs, too, World War I is an epical event. For most Arabs, Ottoman rule means brutal suppression. They hate the Turks. When war breaks out, the British study ways to take advantage of this hatred. They pay huge sums to the Emir of Mecca to rebel against the Turks. The British officer sent to guide the uprising is T.E. Lawrence, Lawrence of Arabia. For the tribe's help, his masters promised them an independent Arabia. Constant attacks on the railways hamper Turkish reinforcements. The Arab uprising helps clear the way for the British march northwards, all the way through Palestine to Jerusalem and Damascus. The Arabs have a vision, an Arabian kingdom with Damascus as its capital. But at the peace conferences, the British have forgotten their promises. Instead of creating a greater Arabia, the British and French divide the Middle East according to their own commercial interests, with strokes of the pen on the map in the best colonial tradition. There's no consideration for ethnic and religious realities. Most of the boundaries they draw with their ruler and fountain pen still exist today. The victor powers create Syria, Jordan, and Palestine, where later Israel will be, Iraq, Lebanon, and many other states. Some of them centers of conflict to the present day.
It's part of sort of the historical memory of the Arab world. And it has, in many ways, created this sense of mistrust, a sense that, you know, whatever the West says, you can't really take them at their word. And I think one can really understand why this is. I mean, it's born of experience.
The democratic governments of Britain and France create a series of monarchies in the Middle East. Kingdoms are more predictable for the European powers than unstable, untested democracies. But in the great cities of the Middle East, in Cairo, Damascus, and Baghdad, opposition to the colonial powers and their puppet governments grows. Intellectuals, some of whom have studied in Europe, found parties. Liberals, nationalists, and socialists spread their ideas. They agree on one thing: the need for independence. The British and French try to nip these tendencies in the bud. Arrests are routine. Only slowly, after a Second World War, unrest and civil conflict, will the colonial powers withdraw from the Middle East. One man becomes the symbol of Arab independence and a new pan-Arabic consciousness: Egyptian President Gamal Abdel Nasser. In 1956, he nationalizes the Suez Canal, still under British control. The British, French, and Israelis attack Egypt. But international pressure forces the invaders to withdraw. It's a great triumph. Nasser reawakens the dream of a pan-Arab state, reaching from the Atlantic to the Euphrates. For a while, the idea seems to gain momentum. Egypt and Syria form a political union. It lasts for just 3 years. The nationalist euphoria soon ebbs away, replaced by a sober realism. Anywhere oil hasn't raised Arab states to unbelievable wealth, the Arab world remains backward and poor. Many disappointed people seek refuge and comfort in Islam, with its emphasis on justice and its apparent incorruptibility.
Religion has returned because it offers every individual a sanctuary, the feeling of security lent by faith, and especially by Islam. Islam offers everyone the guarantee of spiritual certainty, a strength that will accompany him from the beginning of his life to its end.
But what religion is this? There is no single authority in Islam. There are institutions like the Al-Azhar University in Cairo that have a degree of authority. But in reality, any believer in any branch of Islam can choose which scholar and which interpretation of the faith he will follow. From fine moral judgments, protecting individual human rights, to radicals preaching confrontation and holy war.
Nowadays, anyone can go online and have access to thousands of different authoritative interpretations of the Quran or Islamic law. And because in Islam there is no pope to say which interpretation is right, which interpretation is wrong, that becomes the purview of the individual.
They say Muslims are violent people. Muslims are terrorists. You have to be careful when you deal with them. But then I have to ask, who started the 2 world wars that killed at least 60 million people? We have to give the Muslims time. Europe needed hundreds of years to achieve certain things. How long did it take for women to achieve the position and the dignity they have in modern societies? You can't expect all that to happen overnight in Islam.
Arab system is tribal system. And the tribal system, the head of the tribe, he is the man who thinks. He is the man to distribute the food. He is the man to order. So for that, people just to obey. This matter made the Arab world is behind. Now we say to change the tribal, and this is what Islam started, to change the tribal to a society.
The rapid increase in literacy and education in the Muslim world, the rise of new technologies like satellite television and the internet, which has made information and opinions available to people in ways that would have been unimaginable, 20, 30 years ago. In fact, I always say that the internet plays the same role in the Islamic Reformation that the printing press played in the Christian Reformation.
The only way to eradicate extremism, the only way to eradicate violence or ignorance or misunderstanding is through education. We only can do it through education. You cannot do it otherwise.
More than 1,300 years after Muhammad, the Islamic world has many faces between ancient traditions and radical modernity. Where oil income turns into targeted investment in countries like the United Arab Emirates, Islam comfortably combines modernity and tradition. Those in power can construct both universities and magnificent mosques. Elsewhere in the region, the challenges may be far greater. Islam brings comfort and support in poverty and hardship. But if it is to steer its adherents away from the fundamentalists, it must find a way to coexist with economic and political development for the broad mass of believers.